Hello, Dull Bedsit Blogger here, and I'm on my power walk. Oh yes, it's another power walk vlog. I've had to go inland today because it was very windy along the seafront and you wouldn't be able to hear what I'm saying, and I want to listen to what I'm saying on this because I'm interested in my own answers. I don't really plan what I'm going to say, I just say it. So I was walking down the seafront and it was really windy, so I thought I'd walk up to my favourite park, which is St Anne's Wells, and yeah, it's a lovely park, lots of squirrels. It's got a good fish pond, it's got loads of fishes in it, loads of fishes, which is kind of cool. And talking of fishes, after my swim my back has been feeling a lot better, so that's good. So I'm going to try and keep up with that and try and get to do more lengths and stuff like that. And right, so what am I going to talk about today? I had a very interesting reply from Geordie Demon on the Spirit of Gravity video, the version of I'm sitting in a room. Sorry, I got distracted by some rappers ciphering in the park over there. Yeah, can you hear them? Ah, that's good to hear. The Ute ciphering, rapping and rhyming away, which kind of does link into what I was hoping to talk about, which was about experimental stuff, experimental music, and Geordie Demon's comment on the I'm sitting in a room video made me start thinking, yeah, what exactly is it? Experimental art and music. Because surely, when everything is started, it's a bit windy up here, when everything gets started, it's experimental. So, you know, the first person to think of a waltz, they were experimental. And, you know, you to tell someone now that they're doing an experimental piece of music with a waltz, they'd go, shut up, it's a waltz. Traditional, not experimental. And then, you know, it's quite interesting, the idea of when does it stop being experimental. Part of what I've been thinking, that experimental music is perhaps music or art which is not sitting within the dogma of a known artistic genre. For example, you know, hip hop. That was just like some people messing around, and it's now the world's biggest genre. Now, I know any purists out there would probably argue with me about that hip hop is not music. It's an urban movement which is underpinned by the four elements of hip hop, which is tied together by the culture of battling. I know that, you know that now, and yeah, we don't have to go on about it, but you know, that's why I'm using hip hop, the music element, the rap element. That was experimental rhyming once, but it's now pretty much the normal. You know, kids are sitting in the park doing that. There's a piece of music by Stravinsky called The Rite of Spring, which is a fantastic piece of music, and the performance of the music and the dance, choreographed by Diaghilev, is one of the things that brought about modern contemporary dance. It stopped people from doing, it didn't stop people from doing ballet, but it was one of the first dances where people weren't on point. They needed to make the movements look really heavy, as if they were real movement, and it was not like ballet where everything has to look graceful and smooth. And when that was performed, it caused such a ruckus. It had like half the audience wanting more, the other half of the audience throwing stuff at the stage. The dancers didn't know how to dance to it. They had Diaghilev at the side banging the rhythm of the music out. And it is a fantastic, really powerful piece of music. A few years back I found a piece of music that I found The Rite of Spring done by some electronic people called the Asteroids, and listening to it done in the electronic version, you can kind of hear how radical a piece of music was, and it's just brutal. And you know, that was experimental in its time, but now it's, you know, classical. But I think even now the sounds of The Rite of Spring by Stravinsky is just really experimental and just it pushes your ears, it pushes everything. I've started talking about Stravinsky, and I had a quick chat to my dad today, who he's very interested in lots of different music and experimental music, and he was chatting about it in a very different way, because I said I was thinking about talking about this, and he's talking about how there wasn't another kind of music like the experimental electronic music like that didn't progress and evolve into something different. It's kind of stayed where it was, and sort of like the people, Stockhausen and stuff like that, have done those things, and it's not really got any further. But then you think of the BBC Radiophonic Workshop, which took the things that Stockhausen and other electronic experimental people were doing and has turned it into the soundtrack to films, and you know, and the backdrop, Doctor Who music, all these things that are just in everyday life. There's a fantastic book by Paul Morley, and that I've forgotten the title of, which is about it's correlating Alvin Lucia's I'm Sitting in a Room with Kylie Minogue's Can't Get You Out of My Mind. It's a really interesting read, because it's sort of like saying that, you know, basically without this piece of music that loads of people haven't heard, and is, you know, it's not music, it's some guy talking and recording it and recording it and recording it until it's disappeared, the voice has disappeared, and you've just got the sound of the room. He's you know, without things like that, you wouldn't have pop music as we know it today. You wouldn't have, you know, Kraftwerk. You wouldn't have, and you know, you wouldn't have drum and bass. You wouldn't have dubstep and stuff like that without these little people doing these little things. It's like a pebble, a very small pebble being dropped in a pond, and it's got ripples which knock out. And when I was chatting to my dad, I sort of came to, I kind of thought, I told him about my idea about experimental music being music which isn't within the dogma of a style of music. But then if you're purposely making experimental music, you're within a dogma, so therefore you're not making experimental music. Yeah, deep, eh? And then I kind of realised there was this kind of thing about experimental music. The kind of experimental music I'm talking about, the electronic stuff and some of the noise music and tape loops music, where it's not music like you'd sit down and click your fingers to a nice little tune. It's music to experience. A lot of the experimental music gigs that I go to, they kind of don't really translate when I video them and you're hearing them. It's music that you've really got to experience. You've got to feel it. You've got to feel the sound of the feedback. You've got to feel the crack of the speakers, and it's all about actually experiencing the music or the sound. You know, calling it music maybe is wrong, and I think that's the nearest I can get to explaining experimental music for me. It's all about experiencing the music, whether you feel it, smell it, you know, it's about experiencing the performance of the experimental music. Does that make sense? I don't know whether I'm just rambling mindlessly. I think I might stop, because I think I've gone on for 12 minutes and I'm quite close to home, and I think probably lots of this, it was too windy for you to hear what I'm saying. So yeah, that's it. Bye bye.